I'm very pleased to join the Prime Minister today to release the government's response to the Kate Jenkins Respect at Work report. In terms of the report itself, without a doubt, it provides a series of comprehensive recommendations to prevent, which, as the Prime Minister has said, is just so important, and address sexual harassment. What the report also highlights, though, is that it's not about one person or one industry. This is a societal problem that requires a societal response. And in that regard, the report itself and its recommendations are addressed to the Australian government, state and territory governments, employers and industry groups. We all have a role, as the Prime Minister has said, in stopping sexual harassment. The Prime Minister's also referred to the statistics in the report. They are actually just and continue to be unacceptable, finding that 39% of women and 26% of men have recently experienced sexual harassment in the workplace. Again, this is unacceptable. In our response, what we do is set out our long-term commitment to preventing and addressing sexual harassment in the workplace. As the Prime Minister has said, we come together as a government to do this. The Cabinet is united in our response to this report. And that is why I am pleased that in relation to the 55 recommendations, as the Prime Minister has said, we have agreed in full, in principle or in part, or noted, for example, where they are addressed to industry, all 55 recommendations in the report. I also had the opportunity last night to speak with the Prime Minister and Commissioner Jenkins, and I've also had an extensive conversation this morning with Commissioner Jenkins. She is very pleased with the government's response and the commitment both Kate and I made to one another, her as the Sex Discrimination Commissioner and myself as the Attorney-General, is we are now going to work together to ensure that we implement this response. And in fact, when I leave here, Prime Minister, I'm talking to Kate again. In terms of sexual harassment in the workplace, I think we'd all agree. In fact, it needs to be just a basic fundamental. Everybody has the right to feel safe in the workplace. To lead the national effort, the government has outlined a number of measures and reforms in the roadmap, including, as you already know, the creation of the Respect at Work Implementation Task Force to deliver the legislative and regulatory reform. Kate Jenkins chairs that task force. Kate also acknowledged in the report that the current system is incredibly complex and it is incredibly confusing for both employers and employees. We are going to simplify and strengthen the legal framework. But as the Prime Minister has also noted, you need better coordination between all of the agencies that are responsible for this issue in the workplace. We also, though, need to continue to support strong preventative action. As the Prime Minister said, we need to stop this behaviour before it even commences. And in that regard, the Australian government, and we've done a lot of work on this in the past, but we continue to be committed to and will work with the states and territories in relation to delivering education and training programs. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. You need to understand both what your responsibilities are, but also what your rights are. Supporting targeted research, but also ensuring that the actions, the policy actions we take to address sexual harassment in the workplace, they are based on evidence. In terms of supporting national action, as is set out in the response, the Australian government, we are committed to leading and facilitating discussions with state and territory governments, as well as the private sector. In relation to the recommendations that are made to the private sector in the report, we welcome them. We will support any initiatives to help the private sector prevent and address sexual harassment in the workplace. I would also encourage industry, utilise the training materials that have already been released and are being put together by the Respect at Work Council. work with actively the Respect at Work Council. In terms of the recommendations that, as the Prime Minister has said, require national action, the Commonwealth, the state and territory governments working together. As the Prime Minister has said, National Cabinet meets tomorrow. I have also already written to my state and territory counterparts, asking them for their response to the Respect at Work report, but also saying to them, how can we work together to deliver this response? I'm also meeting with the Work Health and Safety Ministers in mid-May to finalise the response to the review of the model workplace health and safety laws. This is relevant to the recommendations in the report.